Hold on a second. A cat snuck in here. I gotta get it out. Hold on. Come on, bud. You went out. Go. There may be a third secret cat still in here, so stay tuned for that surprise.
I have come on a mission of gravest consequence. For I am the Watcher, member of an ancient race far older than man. But though our power is great, we are pledged only to watch, never to interfere. But now mankind faces the greatest danger it has ever known. The danger of
the Watchers of Earth. 199,999.
Welcome to the Watchers of Earth 199,999. I'm your host, Andrew, and joining me as always is my co-host, Seth.
Yeah, sure.
Our third co-host, Joe, couldn't be here today because he was stabbed in the back and tossed off of a banister. And our fourth co-host, Uatu, is here, but is sworn only to watch and never interfere. I should have said Joe was texting us, because that's what all of the other side characters were doing in this episode, or just one of them. I don't know if she was texting anyone more than Nakia.
Wait, I didn't even think she was texting Nakia.
She did text Nakia when she was on the plane, and then she was texting...
That was who she was on the plane? Mm-hmm. I thought she was talking to unnamed white male.
No, it's because I saw Nakia's name on the screen.
Oh, okay.
But she texts someone later, and I don't remember.
I think that was Red Dagger.
Oh, yeah, because he calls her out to go to the party.
Well, anyways, today we watched episode 3 of Miss Marvel, Seeing Red, which originally we watched an episode of Miss Marvel, Seeing Red, which originally aired June 29th, 2022. Teleplay was written by Sabir Pirzada, A.C. Bradley and Matthew Chauncey. Story by Sabir Pirzada, directed by Sharmeen Obaid Chinoy. I don't know why I can't remember what episode we watched. Probably... I'll get into spoilers. Okay. In this episode, Kamala travels around the world to solve the mystery of the bangle in her family's history.
Mystery of her history.
Hey, yeah. It does rhyme. Good job.
Good job, me.
So what'd you think of this episode, Andrew? In one sentence or less.
I really like this show. I do not think I like the story it thinks it needs to tell, because it's the same thing. It's the MCU, and the broader MCU stuff is less interesting to me, but the story itself, the show and the story itself, I think is overall fine, good. I like it. But this is not as bad as episode 3, but I did find myself just kind of not caring during basically the action parts. What about you?
So you mentioned probably in both the first and the second episodes, probably the third one too, I don't know, that you're like, I don't know what it's doing, and I am here with you, man. I don't know what it's doing, and honestly, I don't care. Again, other than the first episode, I've been kind of talking about how the high school stuff is kind of where the interesting parts lay for me, and just ripping us out of that. I feel like nothing in the first 2 episodes really mattered with where we are now, and that was all the interesting bits for me. You know how I am on origin stories, and this is doing nothing different. And I made a joke about, because at the end of the last episode, I said we were watching episode 3, and at the beginning of this episode, I said we're watching episode 3. And I don't know if it's just because they're all being, there was 4 episodes, but I don't feel like anything is really being said in these.
So we'll just jump into general discussion here. I agree. I do think the show doesn't really have a focus. I think, like you said, the first 2 episodes don't really have anything to do with the larger story being told. Damage Control even seems like I thought Damage Control is going to be the main, antagonist, and even that seems to be out of focus at this point. I mean, there's only 2 episodes left, right? It's only 6 episodes. There's only 2 episodes left. Damage Control has barely done anything. They've just been an excuse to get the Jinn out of the way for half an episode. And I feel like it's moving at a weird pace where each episode kind of does its own thing, but it spends not enough time on everything that I think is interesting or everything that needs time, and way too much time on stuff that doesn't. The biggest one that I can think of right now, in this episode at the end, when she time travels, I assume it's probably just like a vision or whatever, to the train station, I felt like it spent so much time to get to the reveal of what was going on. Not get to the reveal, because as soon as she gets there, you know what's going on.
Yes.
But it goes on forever, showing everybody running around and doing all this stuff just to pull out after what felt like 10 minutes and be like, oh my gosh, she's stuck in the past. And it's like, yeah, you could have done this with her just immediately like getting up and looking around and then fade to black.
They did do that with, like, the only thing they didn't do was fade to black, and instead they opted for just more, like,
It reminded me of like Moon Knight, where Moon Knight, I still think Moon Knight is the worst offender of all these, but like even Moon Knight did that, where the episode ends with Mark getting shot, and it should have ended with Mark getting shot, but then it cuts to all of the psych ward crap. And it was basically to get all of that out of the way so that they didn't have to deal with it the next episode, except to just like kind of keep jumping back to it after we've already resolved it. And this one, again, it felt like it was maybe killing time. I don't really know what it's doing. I don't really know what the show's doing. I don't really know what the focus is. I think the Jinn antagonists are beyond uninteresting. I think the Red Dagger people, which apparently is a whole group, but there's only 2 of them that we ever really see, and one of them is introduced and dies in this episode. That felt like when he died, that was where, again, the whole episode I was thinking like, it is just kind of like moving through stuff. But when he died, I was like, of course he's dead already, because we got to leave. We got to go back to America next episode.
Yeah.
Like, this next episode's probably going to take place, a third of it in the Vision. Then she comes back out. She talks with her grandma, maybe talks with her mom. They fly back to America, and then we go to the finale. And
This is her just fighting the clandestine again.
Yeah, and they are uninteresting. I don't understand what the deal is. I thought it was going to be like one of them's going to get a bangle, and then they're going to be able to rock'em sock'em robot each other. But in this episode, it seems to I can't remember anybody's name, but the guy leading the Red Dagger group who dies, he says that her being born of Earth, and I assume her half Earth because of her father, and also being a Jinn is what allows her bangle to do what it does, and that the other Jinn would not be able to use it in the way she does. But there is a second bangle out there. We know this. They specifically point out that there's 2, and I don't know why you would do that unless it's bad storytelling, or like, it's not even a red herring, because it's not like they keep bringing it up. You can't have a single scene as a red herring. That has got to be set up. That's got to be a Chekhov's gun. But like, there's a second bangle out there, but unless they just ignore the rules established in this episode as I understood them, what do you do with a second bangle? She's going to superpower up, or mom's going to put it on?
I don't care, honestly. I don't care. I don't like a lot of things because they don't make sense. I assume you also noticed this, where she has like the same encounter with Red Dagger that she did with the clandestine, and she doesn't think twice about it. She's just like, oh, what's this? The script says these people are good? Okay.
See, but the difference is they fought her first, and then they were friendly.
But that makes even less sense.
I know.
They fought, and then the guy's just like, come on, come with me. She's like, okay, we fought, but I'm sure you know something.
Again, I don't care that she's a Jinn. I don't care in that it doesn't bother me, and I also don't care in that I don't really care. Like, I don't find it all that interesting, but it's fine. The alternate realm stuff is boring. I just don't care when they're like, look at our magic map that shows the world, and it's like, did I need this visual? I don't understand the Jinn. They don't have any, I don't understand if they have any powers or not. The guy says Thor would have been a Jinn if he was born wherever.
In the Himalayas.
But like, does that mean they're like Thor, where they have like super strength and stuff? Because they don't seem to.
Well,
the only thing they have is like their super weapon.
Their powers.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't care. Her powers, again, there's a couple interesting action things that she does with it, but I don't really care about I don't find the powers that interesting. When she was using it to kind of make like a weird purpley suit of armor that just kind of looked like she slightly embiggened herself, I was like, that's fine, I guess. Like, again, when I can see her original powers in there, I'm just like, whatever, it's just another way to get it on the screen. But then when she's making force fields and she makes the big thing was the ramp. When she made the ramp, I was just like, I hate that she can just like
do whatever,
send this crap out. Like, it's just like a Green Lantern ring. I just don't find that interesting.
I thought the whole car chase was uninteresting.
She puts on the mask for no reason, and then that whole chase, she's wearing the mask up until they are like, we're cornered with all these people around us, and she takes off her mask and Red Dagger doesn't, and then she's like, time to use my powers in a way that everybody will see, but conveniently nobody's turning around to look at me. I don't know. I don't want to hate this show. I am so sick of getting, like I said before, we get Black Panther, Shang-Chi, this, Moon Knight, all of these have other cultures in it, and that is so great. but they're bogged down by everything that the MCU is. Like, all of her just, like, exploring the country, like, walking around the streets and stuff, none of that matters. It's just there. It's fine. But I think it's so interesting to see that stuff. Like, I don't like that she left... different. I don't like that she left America, because America is where the story really is. When we leave America, we're going to where the lore is. And I don't really care about the lore. Especially because we didn't really get any new information that we didn't get in the previous episode.
Yeah, and the scene that you loved where her dad was talking to Byron. Byron?
Like, it's nice to leave the country. It's so nice that we're not just, like, in the middle of New York again. But it's also just, like, at the service of really nothing except that exposure. And that's fine. Like, I feel so bad complaining about this. But I also have to look at this objectively as another Marvel thing. And as another Marvel thing, it's just doing all the crap the Marvel things do. And in a certain way, I think that is the most fair I can be to this, is to say I am evaluating it the same as I evaluate all the Marvel things. They all have these problems. For some reason, it feels more heightened in these.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree.
And I think it's because everything outside of this stuff is so different. But all that means is, like, when we go back to the Marvel stuff, it just feels heightened because it is so at odds with the rest of the film or show or whatever. As opposed to, like, I don't know, you go to Guardians of the Galaxy and it's just like, yeah, it's more of the same stuff. It's just in space now. Whatever. Ant-Man is more of the same stuff. It's just...
You're not wrong. I mean...
This is reverberating against itself, whereas the Marvel stuff is just like, yeah, it's all the same mush.
And, I mean, like you were saying, like, it's nice to get out of America. It's nice to kind of look at things and be like, oh, there's heroes all over the globe. You know, it's not an American-centric idea anymore. I think my big problem, one, like you said, I'm more interested in the American school stuff. I'm fine taking this little trip to Karachi and kind of getting some lore dumps here and there, but it doesn't, like I said at the beginning, it feels so cut off from anything else. And I really noticed it in the beach scene, where it feels like it's making a thing about, oh look, Kamala has another crush, but what's the other people gonna, she's got like this love triangle thing, but she doesn't. I felt like that scene was supposed to make me think, like, ooh, what will the person back home think? But the person back home won't think anything, because there's never really been anything established.
I guess I didn't feel like that's what that scene was doing, but I guess I don't care enough to
I thought she gave him like a bunch of side-eyed smiles.
I think she probably had like something.
I mean, it was probably enjoyable for her, but...
Well, I'm not even saying like I don't think that she had anything, like any interest in him. I'm just saying like I don't think it was like, ooh, what are the people back home gonna think? It felt more of like Kamala is experiencing like her culture in a way she hasn't before, like with, you know, with the food and all that, but like it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't add anything. I'm sure she has some interest in Red Dagger. I'm sure that scene is trying to tell us that, but in the end I don't feel like it matters. And part of it might have just been the fact that I'm just like, she's gonna leave. Like, what does it matter? We've already got two other nothing love interests. I guess Bruno is a something love interest as far as the show is concerned. He's just not that interesting. But like,
that's kind of the problem all around.
I guess, and maybe this is just me thinking like this is how I would do it instead, but if the scene was to do that, I think it would be Bruno would text her at that time and she ignores it to show up. I feel like it needs to be a little more overt there.
I mean, it could just be like, for lack of a better term, cultural filler, which is fine. But I guess I just kind of felt like there was they were trying to say some relationship thing there. Mainly because that's the same relationship stuff they tried to pull with Kamran and... What did you say his name was?
Bruno. Kamran, though, they colored all over the screen.
Right, and I think Kamran is the most...
I feel like she was just looking at him as like, I made a new friend. Not to say that she probably, like, I don't think there's anything to say pro or negative other than the fact that they are opposing genders.
But here's what I'm saying. Kamran, I think, is the most, like, here is a love interest. But at the same time, it does put Bruno in a light of like, ooh, look how jealous he is with like a love, there's a love triangle thing brewing. The problem is that the show just didn't give us a reason to care for Bruno as a relationship, as a romantic relationship with Kamala.
I think that the big reason for that, though, is the same problem with this show in its entirety for all 4 episodes. Each episode only deals with the repercussions of the information it gives in its own episode. Like, Bruno was not really much of a love interest in episode 1, if at all. He was the best friend.
Mm-hmm.
In episode 2, they introduced that maybe he's a love interest, and then they bring in the rival in the same episode. And then at the end of that same episode, they go, the rival's actually part of something else. Episode 3 introduces that something else is like, here's Kamala's like pseudo family who's going to explain the Bengal tour and everything, and immediately turns them into villains. In the same episode they're introduced. This episode introduces new people to explain the lore tour and then immediately kills one of them.
Because he was no longer necessary.
They were captured last episode, but even the
and then
Jinn
immediately broke out of a high security prison.
The Jinn were shown in this episode, taken to a high security prison, and immediately breaking out in the same scene.
That's dumb.
And then they're immediately in that country.
I laughed when they broke through the ceiling.
It was hysterical. And they were all wearing masks.
What the fuck is the point of any of this shit?
They were all wearing masks, and I was like, these have to be new people. There's no way it's the same people.
We see him break out of Department of whatever, I forget.
I think
already.
It was Rikers.
I don't think it was.
I thought it said Rikers on the screen. I thought it said Rikers on the screen.
I just remember Maximum Security. Maybe it was, but I just remember like that, and then we get exposition, and then all of a sudden they're just like, "All right, we need to be in the scene now. We'll burst through the ceiling." Oh my god,
it's embarrassing.
It's rough. It's really rough writing to me.
I think the action chase scenes are just boring. Like, there's interesting, fun little moments happening in it, but it's all just stuff. It's just stuff to fill time.
It's just things happening on a screen. And I feel like that's kind of what the entirety of the show has kind of been recently.
And that's what Moon Knight felt like to me. It felt like each episode was just finding excuses and things to stretch out the runtime so that they could hit their shocking ending beat. Nothing mattered to the larger context of the show. The stupid star tapestry that they folded into a literal fucking star. Like, that didn't matter in the long run. You can say that, oh, it did this and did that. And like, yes, individual parts of that did like kind of move the story forward, but not in a way that were necessary. Not in a way that we needed an entire scene where he fought a bunch of guys jousting on horses. It was just stuff to happen. And that's what this is starting to feel like. Episode 1 felt like setup. Cool. Episode 2 felt like extending on that setup and setting up, the side characters and stuff. And then episode 3 basically shoves all that to the side, resolves his wedding, done. Her friend won the election.
Done.
Also found out about Kamala, but we're not going to deal about it in this episode because she's flying to Karachi. And it's just like...
Do you remember that there's a storyline about Bruno going into like Caltech?
And he tells her in the same episode. He keeps it a secret until the end.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But that's what I'm saying is it's just stuff. It's just stuff to fill runtimes and make you feel like things are happening.
Who is sitting on their edge of their seat and being like, oh my gosh, Bruno's going to Caltech. Now what? No one. Because it's nothing. It's totally nothing. There's like interesting things started. This is like a big brainstorming session of like, what can we do with these characters? Oh, like it'd be cool. Like, what if Bruno has to go? But like, they just filmed the brainstorming session.
I think it's unfair for you to say, you always say like, who's like, oh my gosh, no one's ever that excited about any of this stuff. You can have B plots that no one's excited about, but they're at least like fine, or they're propelling something, or it's like, I kind of want to see what happens. And I think the big problem with Bruno isn't that that's nothing, which it is, it's that Bruno's nothing. He's not a character. If he was actually like a side character that we were following and we were invested in his relationship with Kamala, what he's doing for his future, but he's literally just there to be the person that hands Kamala her cool gear and then explains the lore to her when he finds stuff out. Because he's only in those first 2 episodes really doing that. Mm-hmm. And then in episode 3, he explains a little bit more about, like, he learns about the Jinn, and then he's like, peace, I'm out. And again, this episode didn't have him. That's fine. And so I'm judging it based on, like, hey, he didn't really do much in the first 3 episodes. And in most shows, that's fine. But that's half the show. We are past the halfway point, and he feels like an afterthought. And everything feels like an afterthought.
I was going to say, the whole show feels like an afterthought. Like I was saying, it all feels like they just like filmed the brainstorming session rather than figuring out how it all goes together.
I always think about like the Netflix shows and how every season is 13 episodes because I don't know. They're all, at least in this, I can say it's stretched out to 6 episodes because they want you to, renew your subscription to Disney Plus for 6 weeks. You gotta at least get 1 more month in there because you're gonna have half of a month still left where you gotta watch. So they're getting an extra month of subscription out of you. But like with Netflix stuff, it's just like thrown out there. Now they do weekly episodes for certain things, but generally it's all thrown out there at once to binge. But like those 13 episodes generally don't need to be there. You can usually cut that in half. There's a lot of like episodes where nothing really happens. It just kind of spins plates for a little bit just to justify its 13 episode run time.
I would ironically love for this to spin plates. I know it is, just not, it's not spinning the right plates for me.
This is the opposite direction of that. I watch a Netflix show and 90% of the time I go, this could have been so much shorter. We didn't need all this other crap just weighing everything down.
But I want small
this is
life
the opposite.
of life stuff with Kamala. I want, like, if you want to give me this fish out of water story, do it. Don't just have a couple bits here and there without any purpose. Like, she doesn't feel like a fish out of water. I know the story is making it be like, oh, she doesn't like spicy food. She doesn't eat biryani out of a bag. She wears pants. But I guess, I mean, it's doing what I want it to do, to be fair. I just don't think it really says anything.
I think the big thing for me is like, it feels like, for lack of a better term, like culture porn. It's here to show the thing.
That's why I said culture filler, which might be a little better.
Culture filler is better. It's all fine. None of this is a problem. It's just not in the service of anything, but it's treating it like it is. Her walking the streets is fine in a show that has time for her to walk the streets.
Yeah.
And just like experience the culture. But it feels like it's just spinning wheels because it's not serving anything. And I know we're already past the halfway point of the series and I don't actually know what the fucking story is. It's unfair of me because I'm a white guy watching this show, complaining that it's showing another culture. Not that I care, but like I'm complaining about that stuff.
I want to see more of it that matters.
But like someone who's never seen their culture on TV like this, especially like a big name Disney property, like I can see why people get excited about this stuff. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just like I said, grading it the same as I grade every Marvel thing. It's to no real purpose other than kind of like I was saying before we started recording. It's like the meta stuff. It's there for the people who want to see this stuff, and that is fine. But for me, I'm just like, what is it servicing beyond that?
I'm not complaining about these scenes being like, and I know you're not either, but like, I'm not sitting here saying this culture filler is not accomplishing anything. I don't want it. That is not true. The culture filler is not doing anything. I want more of it so it does something. Like I said, I do not feel like Kamala is a fish out of water in this episode. I feel like the show wants her to be a fish out of water and be, look at this, American girl now like learning her culture and kind of figuring out where she fits in. I do not feel like that happens in this episode. And I think that's a really interesting thing you can do.
And again, I think part of it is that it's got to be this larger story where she is a djinn and she's a
and
special kind of djinn.
We got 6 episodes. We don't have time for that shit.
She's a special kind of djinn, and that's in a smaller show, a smaller scope, where it's just like Kamala is a girl who gets powers. We can do this kind of stuff. I think my problem is the show doesn't seem to care about any of that. It wants to go, look, Kamala doesn't really fit in.
Because she wears jeans. But she's not like... It doesn't feel like she's really interacting with any of this not fitting in.
Like I said about a lot of these Marvel shows, but again, going back to Moon Knight, it's like what I said about Moon Knight. It's where it just says, it does the thing, and then it goes, we did it.
Let's get to the car chase.
As long as someone points out that she's wearing jeans and that's weird, as long as they point out that she can't eat spicy food and that's weird, as long as they point out that she's never eaten it out of the bag, we've done our thing. And it's fine.
No one even in the show cares.
It's just there to be like, look at this, Kamala doesn't fit in. Anyway, moving on.
Also,
got a big action scene we got to do, and then we got to film 20 minutes in the past.
Like, why would her mom not say, hey, Kamala, don't wear jeans, because that's like a thing over there?
I thought that too. Nobody stopped her.
No
one saw her as they got in the car. No one said, like, Kamala, go change.
Then she like buys the thing at the street market, but then doesn't wear it. And she just keeps wearing the jeans. But that's the stuff that like, again, the show wants me to think that it's making a point about like this culture clash and fish out of water story, but nobody cares. She wears jeans for the whole episode and nobody cares.
People keep pointing it out.
People point it out once at the restaurant.
No, Kareem points it out. I don't think jeans specifically, but he points out her outfit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I mean,
to no end.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. Like,
I'm just saying, like, it's not one time.
I feel bad sitting here on the mic and being like, why doesn't the show do this? And then, I mean, easily enough, I've done it to myself too, where it's just like, well, it does. Kareem talks about her clothes. And it's just like, not fucking correctly. It doesn't do anything with it. You just watch a scene of someone being like, oh, you must be American. And she's like, I could be Canadian. Let's get back to the fight scene, which looks very bad. I thought there was some weak CGI in this.
At one point when she catches the dagger, I wasn't even sure if there was a physical dagger there. It looked fake, but I was like, she's like just holding it in her hand. Why would it be fake? There's a lot of stuff that looks like green screen too.
Yeah.
Just like they're not physically standing in a place.
You said it at the beginning where you said you like what the show is doing, just not how it's doing it or something along those lines.
I like the show. I just don't like the show, the story the show wants to tell.
I'm going to take it a one step further and honestly even say you might agree with me instead of you. I want to like the show, but the show is not good. I liked the second episode a lot. I really did. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think there's a lot of good stuff you can do with Kamala. I think you can keep the stupid Jin crap. I think you can keep the stupid, we changed her power set a bit and do interesting things, but it just doesn't.
It feels like it's too big. The Jin stuff feels too big with the way they explain it. It just feels unfocused. And I think a big problem is, I keep saying this, we're past the halfway point. There's 2 episodes left. It's not going to dial, I could be wrong, but it's not going to dial down in those final 2 episodes.
I know. Are we going to go back to America and Bruno's going to be like, okay, bye, I'm going to California. She's going to be like, oh no, what am I going to do without Bruno to be my tech man? Like, and then that's going to be it. And it's going to be like, who the fuck is Bruno? Like, what has he done for this show?
Everything feels like a fucking afterthought. And I think a big thing is there's a lot of focus on what happened at the train station.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is fine. I just don't need this much heavy lore. You always say stuff like, I don't need, and I always find that weird because I'm like, I don't really need anything. I think that's a weird way to phrase everything. But
perhaps
now I'm saying it here where I'm just like, I don't need this heavy lore. And I think the heavy lore is dragging everything down because it feels so at odds with the small story that I'm interested in that it purported to be in the first 2 episodes. And once she, like, teleports into the past or has a vision of the past or whatever, I was just like, I don't fucking care. I don't need to learn what happened at the train station. They keep talking about the Trail of Stars as if it's like a mystery, and it's probably someone just like made a path for her with the bangle or stretched an arm out with the bangle and she saw a stretchy, sparkly star arm. But regardless of what the answer is, like, I don't care. I don't need to see it. I don't need to go back in the past to see it. I don't need to know what happened to her great-grandmother. And I think that's unfair for me to just say, like, I don't care, so don't do it. But I also just, I feel like all this stuff is at odds with the part of the show that is interesting to me.
And I think you can use the partition as like an interesting backdrop of putting a story together. And honestly, I'd be fairly interested in, I mean, that's something I don't really know about. And I, was looking at Wikipedias and stuff for the last episode and this episode and just kind of gradually learning on it as the days go by. But like, I think that you can do an interesting thing there, but and maybe they will, but it just kind of feels like a backdrop. Just like, what's an event we can refer to?
I think my problem is it just feels like it is making a small story feel bigger in order to justify its existence. Same thing with the Jinn and the Jinn being from an alternate universe and all that. It just feels like we can't have small stories. They all have to be big. They all have to be the biggest story ever.
So the clandestine want to go to their home dimension. And they can't, so they're just punching people now.
And they're like crazy psychopaths.
What did the Red Daggers say? They're like, hey, they're going to blow up the world?
I honestly don't remember.
Because
they had a whole talk about all that, and I really don't even know I don't know what is going on with them. I don't know what their deal is. I
remember he overlaid the dimension with Earth, and he was like, it's connected.
I remember that.
And then he shows like a thing, and he's like, they're going to blow up the world. And I was like, because they can't go home? They were just like, they've been here for hundreds of years, and then they met a girl and were like, hey, she can get us home. And then she's like, hey, I can't do that right now, but we're working on it. And they're just like, fucking scorched earth. It's so dumb. It's really weak.
I agree. So, Seth, give me 2 put-ups and a put-down.
I cannot. My first put-up is going to be... You know what? I might be completely alone in this. We didn't even talk about it during the episode. I like the scene between Kamala's mom and grandmother.
Shared first put up.
That's the stuff that we're looking for.
Well, it's because it's the small scale interpersonal stuff.
It's just like nice family drama.
Especially because I feel like that is also something that is going to go into Kamala's story as like maybe that allows her mother to understand Kamala better.
Yeah.
Like, it felt
I
like it was
genuinely
moving
think
things
that is a
forward.
plot point. Like her
Yeah.
mother is kind of learning how to accept Kamala to some extent. But yeah, I was reading too that people hate the actress that's playing Kamala's mom, and I think she's good.
I think everybody's good. I really don't think there is a bad actor on the show so far. None that like stand out to me that I can think of. I think everybody does a good job. Good to great.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean, passable sounds like a bad term, but I think everybody's like really passable and like fun to watch and little character quirk things. And, other than Byron, I don't know. I'm not doing a
Bruno?
bit. Bruno. He's such a nothing. So is Comrade.
I find it funny because
because
I could never remember.
Comrade's totally nothing, too. He was like, hey, Kamala, here's the villains. And then went, okay, I'm done. I'm just...
Which second put up?
I know, you hate this shit. We talked about this earlier, sorry. My second put up is going to be... My second put up is going to be, and I don't think this is necessarily true. This is me hoping for something that I know is probably not true. I like how she's kind of been getting her costume piecemeal because she got the little blue vest thing in here. And I think it would be kind of a cool, instead of, all these shows are just like, here's the final battle scene, here's your new costume. I think it'd be kind of cool if at the very end she's just like, this is what I picked up over my travels. I got the Bruno head domino mask. I got the thing from the Red Daggers.
She's like Mega Man X getting powered up throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to do that. But I guarantee at the end, someone's going to be like, here's your Jin costume. The lightning bolt is an ancient Jin symbol.
I bet it's probably going to be a Bruno thing. He's probably going to be like, hey, I made your costume out of the vest you brought back, and then other crap I had
lying around.
But it's weird that that lightning bolt doesn't mean anything in this universe because Carol Danvers was never Ms. Marvel with the lightning bolt costume.
Correct. But nobody cares about that. Shut up. My put down is going to be, I was horribly bored during the car chase. I don't know why, honestly.
Oh, I can tell you why. It was boring.
But I mean, that's a me thing. I know people like this stuff. I mean, I know people like this whole episode probably, and they're wrong. But I don't know. I didn't like Kamala's use of her Green Lantern powers.
How about how she's all over the place with how good she is. When she fights Red Dagger, she's using her powers really well and has like lightning quick reflexes and is like kind of flipping around. But then when they're in the car, he's like, do something. She's like, I can't do anything. My powers, I'm not good with my powers. I'm like, I watched you use them not 10 minutes ago.
I didn't understand the motorcycle that she had to protect everything from because it sounded like the car chase was making a lot of noise. But I guess maybe the motorcycle's pretty loud too. You might not hear it behind you.
Vroom.
It's in your ears. But the runner-up would be the fight against the Red Daggers. But that one has the saving grace that they all burst through the ceiling and are just like, now the Jinn have to fight. Stop with the exposition, I say. You shall not pass. Fight me.
First put up, scene between Kamala's mom and her grandmother. Second put up, I don't know. I like the text in this show. The text in the window of the airplane was nice. Like, it's small, but it's fine. I don't remember how the text came up when Kareem texts her. It's when her grandmother is like watching.
It's like in a special. It doesn't integrate as much into the scene, but it's not just like a pure text thing. I think it's like there's like lights or something, or like a balloon thingy or something. There was a bunch of circles.
My put down is going to be when we see the Supermax prison, and then we watch the Jinn break out of the Supermax prison, and then the scene immediately cuts to them bursting through the fucking window and having a long ass boring fight that goes on for 27 years.
I mean, you can't just throw super maximum superhero prison and then just be like, hey, let's break out. Okay. Like, I know people break out of super prisons.
I don't know why they're having so much trouble getting back to their home planet when they can just, like,
anything.
Teleport halfway across the fucking world
Just...
between, like, the blink of an eye. It's fucking dumb. I mean, how did they even get on a plane? They were taken to a Supermax prison. There are so many flight risks right there. How the fuck did they get on a plane?
They broke into a plane. And
it doesn't matter, because they're in the scene now. Whee!
Who cares? It was so easy to break out of that prison.
They go out and there's just like a car parked there with the engine running. Fucking stupid.
And then the one guy's like, what do I do with Kamran? And she's just like, he made his bed. Now he sleeps in it. And then he just like is like, okay, now what? And I was like, okay, now what? I was not on the edge of my seat. I know you chastised me for using that term earlier. I was not on the edge of my seat thinking, oh my God, now what's going to happen with Kamran? He's stuck at the Supermax prison.
He's going to be out. He's going to get the other bangle and he's going to become Mr. Marvel. I don't know.
No, the person...
I turned on this show so hard.
The Jinn has to get the Miss Marvel bangle so that she can be evil Miss Marvel, and then Kamran can get it. And be like, now I'm Mr. Marvel. Let's be the Marvels. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like this, tell a friend. If you didn't, then lie to a friend. Check us out on Twitter at SoHowAbout. You can find me on Twitter at SethKumpf. You can find Andrew on Twitter at TessuDownist. And subscribe to us on YouTube at SoHowAbout.
And join us next time when we do this once more with Interference.
Watcher.
Seth, now that the mics are off.
Andrew,
what are we watching
I am
next week?
so glad you asked because we're going to watch episode 5. I literally thought 4 when I started the F of 5, and I was like, fuck. We're going to watch episode 5, the penultimate episode. And I assume we're going to get a lot of this partition thing going on. She's going to be like, that's my grandnan. And then, honestly, you mentioned it. It might have been a bit. I don't know. I think you're right on the money that the Trail of Stars is going to be her weird shimmery Jinn powers.
They keep talking about it as if no one understands what it is.
That's why she has glittery purple Jinn powers, because they got to travel the stars.
It's fucking stupid.
How much of the episode do you think is going to be in?
At least a third.
You think
I feel like it's going to get it out of the way quickly so that we can make it back to America by the end of the episode, if not the halfway point.
They're definitely in America at the end. I think it's going to be like, that's going to be the closer. And she's going to get back, and then Bruno's going to be like, there's going to be like
kidnapped.
No, there's going to be something where we feel bad because she missed Bruno when he went to California. And he was like, here's your costume. And then she's going to be like, oh no, this guy that's not even in the show and doesn't matter. And the show's going to think they did something with Bruno and that we feel for it. Do you think Red Dagger's going to go to America?
That's probably going to be the, like,
he's going to burst through
scene.
the ceiling when she's fighting evil Miss Marvel.
He's going to burst through the ceiling of her science class and be like, I'm in this school now.
Now, let me tell you about the dimension. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully She-Hulk's better.